Hey everyone, Hannah Levin here with Heartfelt Well-Being. And today, instead of doing an inspirational interview, I'm going to do a little talk in correlation with the detox that we're doing right now. We're in the midst of our 3-week autumn detox. And part of what happens in these detoxes that I lead is that we look at detoxing not just what we're eating. So we're certainly taking a break from eating processed foods and um, packaged foods, things that are not originating from whole foods, along with gluten and dairy and soy and alcohol and caffeine and a bunch of other things that it's nice to give ourselves a break from time to time. It doesn't mean you won't have those things ever again, but it's also interesting and important to look at other ways in which we need to detox. So, some of the things that I'm encouraging of you all that are doing the detox and we're discussing are ways in which we can detox our environments, like cleaning up our space. So, taking out the piles of clutter that may have accumulated, or going through belongings, maybe your clothes or books or papers that have piled up, um, things that you can sort through and get rid of. And so, really intentionally cleaning out your environment. So, the external mirrors the internal so that you have balance and integrity in both. And we're also looking at detoxing the mind. So, being more aware of how we're inundating our minds with frequent information, whether that's having the television running all the time, or listening to podcasts, or trying to listen to the news while we're eating, or reading, or scrolling social media, and all these pieces that really turn into our overload in our nervous systems. So even detoxing at this level is really key in terms of what we're able to release from taxing our minds and our nervous systems throughout each day. So all of this is really powerful. And a little bit can make a big difference in how we feel. One of the things that I feel increasingly aware of and that I want to teach more about is the contamination in products that we buy and in our environment, and how that is affecting us. So today I'm going to be talking about phthalates. And phthalates are in our world. They're detected in pretty much every adult in the American population, and they're wreaking havoc with our health. So, a lot of folks don't know what these are, or maybe you've heard the word, it's a weird spelling. You can see it in the title of this video. It's Phthalates aren't one particular chemical. They are a family of chemicals that are known as plasticizers. So they make things either bind together or make plastic more flexible. And so phthalates show up in many ways in our world. They can show up in plastics, actual plastic containers that we use. They can also show up in shampoos, perfumes, even vinyl flooring, all sorts of things that are in our home environments and our work environments, and they can be affecting you without you really knowing it. So, I made a bunch of notes for this little talk today, and I'm going to be referring to them. So, if I'm looking down, that's what is happening. So, I wanted to just reflect on like how these show up in our environment. So I just listed some things: vinyl flooring, lubricating oils that are used in industry, personal care products like shampoos, conditioners, perfumes, lotions, body wash, all sorts of things like that, as well as makeup. So um, so all of the things that we might be applying to our face every day might be toxic, and also found in um, foods. So things like mass-produced meat and dairy specifically because the animals have been exposed to phthalates in their environment. So they're eating foods that have, or maybe even being fed phthalates on some level, and then that ends up in the milk and the meat that are produced from these animals, and then we end up eating them. And phthalates have been found especially in a lot of fast food. So when we're eating cheaper food, when we're eating processed foods, we're most likely consuming phthalates on some level. They've also been found in imported spices. So, spices that are imported from other countries, perhaps that don't have um, testing or regulations for those things. So, even if you're eating like organic vegetables and locally raised organic grass-fed meat, you might be putting phthalates into your food through your spices, which is really unfortunate as somebody who loves cooking and working with spices. That was really challenging for me to learn. So, as I mentioned before, the CDC has found measurable levels of phthalates in the general population. Women tend to have higher levels of phthalates in their system than men do. And that's because women tend to use more self-care products, whether that's lotion or makeup or body washes or different shampoos and things like that. Um, and there's a definite link between phthalates in the body and the surging rate of chronic disease. And that's becoming more and more widely documented. So, the most susceptible people in our population to phthalates are actually babies in utero. So the mother's intake of phthalates is very much affecting the babies, and specifically male babies. It can be more detrimental to than female babies. So phthalates damage the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and the reproductive system. They have been found to cause cancer in lab rats and developmental problems as well in test animals. They can irritate the eyes and skin, cause nausea, dizziness, and vomiting. And they're also linked to endometriosis in women and asthma, ADHD, breast cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, low IQ, behavioral issues, and male fertility. So, all of these things is like, oh my goodness, this sounds apocalyptic. And I certainly don't want to come across as apocalyptic here. I want to come across as informing you as to what you might not be aware of so that you can make choices in your life that can better support your health. So we live in an ever increasing toxic world in that there are chemicals being produced all the time that are pumped into our air, into our water, into our earth. And there's really no way to totally avoid the chemicals that are in our world, all to the um, benefit of somebody who's making a lot of money while really challenging our health. We've all seen studies of communities that have been near certain industries where cancer rates are higher and things like that. We know that certain products in our environment makes it really challenging for us to create ideal and dynamic health. So what can we do? And that's really what I want to encourage you all to think about. You may have scented things in your home, and so I encourage you to get rid of not even use up, but just get rid of any laundry detergent that is scented that isn't naturally scented. So if you're using things like Tide or um, Clorox, or I don't even know these other brands, I don't use them, but your laundry detergents are often full of phthalates. And so using natural laundry detergents or unscented laundry detergents is a great way to start. And dryer sheets are some of the worst as well. So I recommend using these balls that are wool, and you can purchase them online. They're dryer balls, and you can actually put a couple drops of essential oil. I learned this from Claire Danielson, who might be watching this. Put a couple drops of essential oil onto the wool balls and put those in your dryer, and they lightly scent your clothing without actually needing any of the chemicals. And so get rid of your dryer sheets. And then look at your self-care products, your shampoos, your conditioners, your body wash, your lotions and makeup. And some of the things that you can look for in these products are these initials. So these are a bunch of the phthalate um, initials. So it may be DHEP, DIBP, BBP, DBP, BBZP, DNBP, DNOP, or DCHP. So if you see any of those letters in ingredients on any of your products, those are phthalates. So choosing phthalate-free items, so there are things in all of the areas that I just mentioned that are labeled phthalate-free, and you can find those and purchase those phthalate-free items. Phthalates are also in scented trash bags. So this is something that's really interesting. And things like Febreze, right? When we have lots of aversion to natural scents in our environment and we put artificial scents, whether that's Glade plugins or we have an air freshener hanging from our rear view mirror in our car, all of those things are toxins in our environment and they're hormone disruptors. And so all of those things, if you can go for unscented version, if your trash stinks, take your trash out. You don't need a scented trash bag to cover up the scent of your trash, right? So get the scents out of your environment so that that's one way that you can really clear these out is like get everything unscented, no chemicals in it. Um, Use also phthalate-free microwave containers and covers in the microwave. So if you do still use a microwave, make sure that you're using phthalate-free dishware to put in the microwave. Decrease your consumption of mass-produced meat and dairy so that you aren't bringing the phthalates into your system through the foods that you're having. So I encourage you to go to your local farmers market to get organic, grass-fed um, animal products and dairy, and create a relationship with your local ecosystem, local food system. Avoid fast food. This is good for so many reasons, but another reason is that fast food contains phthalates. So getting the fast food out of your life and making sure that you're not eating phthalates in in the cheap food that you're buying there. And if you are getting medical treatments, you can ask your medical provider to use phthalate-free devices. And these would be used like if you're having a blood transfusion or if you're on dialysis. So those are some things that you can focus on changing if you're looking at getting phthalates out of your environment. Um, for kids, it's really important to um, not have them chewing on soft plastic or vinyl products. Make sure that if they're on like a teething ring or something, or pacifiers, bottle nipples, things like that, that they're phthalate free. Um, and some of the things that you might be aware of for hormone disruption. Um, so it can affect early onset of puberty, interfering with the male reproductive tract development, interferes with natural functioning in the hormone system, it causes reproductive and genital defects, lower testosterone levels in adolescent males, and lower sperm count in adult males. So this is affecting ongoing fertility and health in our environment. Um, so just here's another definition of phthalates. Phthalates are a family of man-made chemical compounds developed in the last century. So it's new, um, which means we don't know really the long-term effects of phthalates. Um, to be used in the manufacture of plastic solvents and personal care products. They are colorless, odorless, oily liquids that do not evaporate easily and do not chemically bind to the material they are added to. Ingestion, inhalation, skin absorption, and intravenous injection are all potential pathways of exposure. The ever-present use of phthalates um, is to make plastics flexible and to be used in personal care products to make fragrances last longer. Um, in the past 50 years has resulted in widespread general population exposure. So they're readily absorbed into the human body and also convert quickly into their respective metabolites. They tend to pass out of the body with urine and feces. But if we have an overexposure, constant exposure, then it can cause problems over time. And again, babies in utero up to children of 3 years of age are at the most risk of having long-term issues. So read your labels, and I invite you, as we are going through our detox here, the Heartfelt Wellbeing Detox, to detox your products that you have in your home. And as always, do what you can where you are with what you have. Don't overly stress about it. The stress isn't going to help, but being mindful, being awake and aware, and making the best decisions for you and your family can make a big difference. So that's my little talk for today on phthalates. Let me know what questions you have, and we can continue to learn and research together. And I hope that this is helpful for you all as you continue to live a more awake, aware, healthy, and vibrant life. I'll see you all soon. Be well.